The end of this year is closing in fast. And if you ask me, there's no better time than right now to set your future self up for massive success. So in today's video, I've compiled a checklist of 9 critical financial maneuvers you can execute before the year is over. This is all about seizing control of your money and starting the new year on the strongest possible footing. All right, kicking things off at number 1, take inventory of your cash. At the end of the year, it's a vital habit to get a precise count of your liquid assets. This means everything in your checking accounts, any money market funds, the cash stashed under your mattress, or the balance in your high-yield savings account. The core concept here is knowing exactly how much liquid cash you have on hand, just in case an emergency pops up or an unexpected expense lands on your doorstep. When I talk about liquid, I'm thinking of assets that can be converted into spendable cash within 1 to 3 business days. Once you have that number, you need to figure out what slice of your entire portfolio pie is sitting in cash. Why? Because sometimes you might be holding way too much and other times far too little. In a previous video, I mentioned that the right amount of cash is a combination of 2 things: your fully funded emergency fund plus any short-term savings goals you're working towards. For instance, let's say your 6-month emergency fund is $25,000. On top of that, you're saving for a house down payment and you've got $20,000 set aside for that. The correct cash position for you would be $25,000 plus $20,000 for a total of $45,000. One of the most practical things you can do today is calculate the exact size of your emergency fund needs. Then create separate dedicated bank accounts for that fund and for each of your short-term savings goals. By the time the ball drops on New Year's Eve, you should know exactly what your liquid asset situation looks like. Make sure you have this dialed in. Bottom line, know exactly how much liquid cash you have before the year ends. The second financial move you must make before this year ends is to ensure you've captured all the free money your employer is offering you. Many of you watching this channel already know you should be taking advantage of a 401k match. But here's the kicker. This is one of those things that must be done before the calendar year flips. You don't have to max out your 401k. In fact, most people don't have the disposable income to hit that $20,000 plus limit. And frankly, some people just prefer not to. However, you would be absolutely kicking yourself if you didn't at least contribute enough to get the full employer match. That is literally free money. Oftentimes, these matches are dollar for dollar. This is known as a full match. The employer will match 100% of your contributions up to a certain ceiling. Let's say you earn $100,000 a year. They might match 100% of up to 4% of your salary. That means if you put in $4,000, they put in $4,000. It's an instant 100% return on your investment. When the math gives you 100% returns instantly, you don't ignore it, you take it. You would think this is a no-brainer, but I found an article stating that at least 1/3 of people fail to do this, or at least don't take advantage of the full match. Now, what if your employer doesn't offer a match? Another place you can hypothetically get free money is through an employee stock purchase plan, or ESPP. This is a program where if you work for a publicly traded company, they might offer to sell you company stock at a discount. For example, I have a friend at Adobe who gets a 15% discount on her stock purchases through her ESPP. There will be some restrictions. Typically, you have to meet a minimum holding period. I've also heard of tax treatment differences where if you sell the stock too soon, the discount you received gets taxed as ordinary income instead of capital gains, further discouraging you from just flipping it for a quick profit. However, if you're at a company whose future you strongly believe in, and you can get a 15% or more discount on the stock, that is a powerful version of free money you can opt into. Hopefully, you can do that by year's end. If your company offers a discount or a match, don't leave that opportunity on the table. The third thing you must do is sum up your total liabilities. That means if you owe money on a car, have a credit card balance, or carry personal loans, you need to know what your total liability number is. Knowing how much you owe is just as critical as knowing how much you have. Once you have all your debts written down, sort them by interest rate. Personally, if I had any high interest rate debt, that is precisely where I would start focusing my payoff plan as we head into the new year. Tackle your most expensive debt first. That's how you gain momentum. After you've done that, it's time to figure out your total assets. This is where you add up every single bank account you have. Then add up the value of all your investments, your brokerage account, Roth IRA, 401k, etc. Then also add in any physical assets you own, like your car, your house, or maybe an equity stake in a business. You can add that in as well. I hope you can see where we're going with this. Your assets tell the story of how strong your financial base really is. Once you have your list of total assets and your list of total liabilities, you simply take assets minus liabilities and guess what you have. You have just calculated your net worth. Now, I've been tracking my own net worth every single month since 2016. And I can tell you, a monthly tally of your net worth is a bit counterproductive. It's just that my net worth can swing wildly based on what my investment values are. Earlier in my financial journey, I loved tracking it monthly just to see the number go up. But as investments have become a larger and larger percentage of my total net worth, I find it can fluctuate dramatically in any given month. That is mentally taxing. So, starting in 2026, my new plan is to check my net worth just once every quarter, or maybe even only once a year. Whatever interval you choose, as long as you are tracking your net worth, you are ahead of the game. Just pick an interval that actually works for your mental health. Pick a tracking rhythm that supports your progress and your peace of mind. The fourth item I want you to take note of is your big three expenses: housing, transportation, and food. These three categories typically make up 60% to 70% of most people's spending. If you are serious about budgeting and optimizing how much you're investing, you must look at these three categories first. For example, if you're spending $3,000 a month on rent in a high cost of living city, but you could spend $2,000 or maybe $2,500 a month for a comparable apartment that's just a 20-minute commute away, you could save a huge amount of money instantly. There's a lifestyle trade-off, sure, but I think we often get stuck in autopilot mode and stop thinking about the three biggest expenses we can actually optimize. Some people get really focused on the weeds, the small stuff, like their daily coffee habit or their gym classes. As you go into this new year, reviewing your top three expenses will be the biggest lever you can pull to make a real difference. If you find you're overspending in one of these areas, perhaps by December 31st, you can map out a plan to make your lifestyle a little bit cheaper. The goal isn't to be as cheap as possible, but to be intentional. Master your big three, and your whole budget falls into place. Fifth on the list is tax loss harvesting. This is a strategy where you would sell your investments that have gone down in value this year to lock in those losses. You can then use those losses to offset any capital gains you had this year. People usually wait until the last 2 to 3 weeks of the year to do this, but it can be done anytime before the calendar year ends. Let's say in February, you bought Alaska Airlines stock at its peak, and now you're sitting on a significant $5,000 loss, but you're still holding the stock. At the same time, you also owned AMD stock, which you bought in March and flipped in November for a realized profit of $7,000. That means you are sitting on a $7,000 capital gain, and you would owe taxes on that $7,000 if you can't offset it. Losses can work for you if you know how to use them. Tax loss harvesting is simply the idea that you can sell your Alaska Airlines stock to offset the gain from the AMD stock. In this hypothetical, you sell Alaska Airlines, take the $5,000 loss, and use it to offset your $7,000 gain. Poof! Your net capital gain for the year is now only $2,000. This strategy brings up an obvious loophole. Well, couldn't I just sell Alaska Airlines, take the loss and then buy it right back the same day? Unfortunately, you cannot. This is prevented by something called the wash sale rule. That rule does not allow you to repurchase the same or a substantially identical security within 30 days of selling it if you want to claim the loss. The rule wants you to actually exit your position, not just fake exit for tax purposes. To be clear, you can physically buy it right back. You just wouldn't be able to claim the loss on your tax return. The wash sale rule stops the loopholes, but not your strategy. Another great thing about this strategy is that if you have a massive loss, let's say you lose $100,000 on an energy stock, that $100,000 in losses can be used to offset gains in the current and future years until the full $100,000 is used up. There is one caveat. You can only deduct a maximum of $3,000 in net losses against your ordinary income each year. So if you lost $100,000 on one stock and gained $20,000 on another, you'd use $20,000 of the loss to wipe out the gain, paying zero capital gains tax, and then use $3,000 of the remaining $80,000 loss to lower your income tax. The rest carries forward. Big losses aren't the end. They're a tax tool for years. Coming in at number 6, simply review and renegotiate any recurring bills you have. I do this with my cable bill all the time. I will call the provider at the end of the year and say something along the lines of, "Hey, do I qualify for any discounts this year, or am I able to get promotional pricing again if I sign on for another year?" Oftentimes, they will have some sort of discount or promo rate you can lock in. Insurance is another one of these. Call your health insurance provider, your home provider, or your auto insurance provider. You can save money just by talking to them or even just by comparison shopping across different providers. Lastly, you can also call your credit card company. While they aren't a provider in the traditional sense, you can call them to negotiate a lower interest rate or inquire about promotional offers to help you save on interest and fees. If you can save, let's say $100 a month just by making a few phone calls, that's a pretty good deal in my book. One call can save you money every single month. Don't skip it. Number 7 today is to maximize any tax-free money opportunities you have, like the Roth IRA or the HSA. The HSA, or Health Savings Account, is an account set up to incentivize you to save for health-related expenses. But in reality, it's one of the most tax-efficient savings vehicles on the planet because it offers triple tax benefits. 1. Contributions are tax-deductible, lowering your income tax today. 2. The growth of the account is tax-free. 3. Withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are also tax-free. The one thing you need to make sure of is that you are actually investing the funds within the HSA itself. Too many people start an HSA and just let the money sit in cash. Put that money to good use in low-cost index funds. When it comes to the Roth IRA, this is the individual retirement account where you contribute after-tax funds, invest them, and then any of the earnings in that account grow completely tax-free upon withdrawal in retirement. The contribution limit for 2025 is $7,000 if you're under 50. The Roth IRA also has income limits. If you're an individual making over $161,000, you're technically not eligible. However, what you can do is just make a backdoor Roth IRA contribution instead. I know this sounds like some crazy secret, but it's like the world's worst-kept secret in finance. All you do is contribute to a traditional IRA first, and then you convert the traditional IRA into a Roth IRA within your brokerage account. It sounds sketchy, but I've done it myself, and it literally just takes a few clinks. The only thing you want to be careful of is something called the pro rata rule if you're doing this. That rule essentially states that if you have existing pre-tax funds in a traditional IRA, you can't just convert the new after-tax money. It gets complicated, but there are ways around it. Tax-free accounts are your strongest long-term weapon. Use every advantage. The number 8 thing to do is probably the easiest one, but it may be very tedious. Tell me your savings rate. This is one of the most fundamental questions you should know the answer to. If I were to come up to you on the street and ask, "Excuse me, what's your savings rate?" you should know approximately what it is. An easy way to figure this out. Know how much you spent on average for the last 3 months. Know how much you bring in on a monthly basis. The difference, how much you bring in versus how much you spend, is your savings amount. Then, just get your savings percentage from that. We here on the channel want to target a 15 to 20% savings rate if we can. And that percentage includes retirement contributions, pension contributions, any ESPPs, and contributions to your brokerage account. Fun fact, I ran a poll on the community tab last week, and a large majority of you actually save over 25% of your income. That is incredible. Know your savings rate. It's the number that drives everything else. And the 9th thing you should do before this year ends is to set your target financial goals for 2026. I really want you to think about what your biggest goal is for next year and to singularly focus on that 1 or 2 goals. Some examples: setting up a 529 plan for your kids, starting your own Roth IRA, maxing out your 401k, buffing up that emergency fund, or getting your credit card debt under control. The point is, people who set way too many goals often don't accomplish any of them at all. I would much rather you focus on 1 or 2 financial goals for next year and make sure you hit them. And if you can, attach a number to that goal. Let's say you are $14,000 in debt on a car loan, and you just really want to pay that off in 2026. I would work backward from $14,000. How are you going to scrounge up an extra $14,000 over the course of the full year? Will it require side income? Will it require being more diligent with your budget? Think about actual ways to hit that goal. Pick one clear goal for 2026 and build your plan backwards from it. So, down below in the comments, I want to hear from you. What are your biggest goals for 2026? What's your savings rate or your net worth goal? As long as you're comfortable sharing. I hope your Q4 is going well. I'll see you guys in the next video. Happy almost New Year, or Happy New Year if you're watching this in the future. All right, peace. Set your goals, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next one.